Thanks for being with us, Gary. So you know all about it. You played in that game, you scored in that game, but one moment dominates it all, and that was the hand of God's goal, which must be seared in your memory.
Yeah, you could say that. Talked about it a few times over the years. Obviously, I scored the goal no one remembers in that game. But Diego's hand of God was the first goal. Pretty poor first half, actually, but it all came to life in the second. And obviously then after that, probably scored the greatest goal ever scored, because when you consider the significance of the game, etc., it was a remarkable feat of genius from the little man. But I wouldn't say fond memories, but kind of real memories. And it was an amazing experience to play in the Azteca against Argentina in a quarterfinal of the World Cup. And obviously, we were a bit unfortunate. The decision went against us, and we rallied at the end, and we nearly got back on level playing field. But unfortunately, fortunately for us, that they won the day. Hopefully, we can get our revenge this time around.
Yeah, and I mean, the game was 4 years after the Falklands War. Describe what it was like to play a game of such intensity at that time.
Well, I think we were all... I mean, we were aware, obviously, of the previous history because it had only been a few years prior to the actual World Cup. So, the press wanted to make a big deal of it. As footballers, we just wanted to focus on the game itself for obvious reasons. And I think Argentina and Maradona's quotes were exactly the same. Leave us to play a game of football and get on with it. But obviously there were political ramifications, and there was a lot of hype before the game. But in the end, it boiled down to one team playing against another team, and it turned out to be a very memorable match. But it was one of those where the managers of both sides were just telling the players, don't get yourself involved in the politics side of things. Something I've always adhered to. But we were aware of what had happened previously.
I mean, Pickford says, look, it's just another game of football. Can it really be just another game of football when we've had the conflict, the sense of grievance from them is still going on? We've had the Maradona goal, we've had Beckham sending off. I mean, it's a game steeped in this sort of controversy.
Yeah, but that won't make a blind bit of difference to any of the players in this one. All they'll want to do is play in a World Cup final. So it'll be about winning a game of football. Will the players be thinking about something that happened 40-odd years ago? No, they won't. They'll be going out there trying to win the game, trying to focus on what they've got to do. It's a high-pressured match. Of course, it's a big, special game. It's a semi-final of a World Cup. You're playing, two of the best teams in world football. They won't. It won't have any bearing on the players. You couldn't want to win a football match more anyway. While people will try and conjure up things that from the past, the players won't. They won't be thinking that way at all.
Yeah, we're just looking at some live pictures now of the England training session, the last training session. They have a kind of open 15 minutes so the cameras can go in. I mean, what will their mood be? I mean, do you see them having a real chance in this semi-final?
Yeah, I think it's a very even game. I think it's probably 50-50, whoever turns up on the day. Sometimes you need a big bit of good fortune, which we didn't have, obviously, 40 years ago. Sometimes you need a bit of brilliance that we've seen in this tournament from someone like Harry Kane or Jude Bellingham that could perhaps drag us over the line. We have to bear in mind, of course, they've got, probably the greatest football that's ever played, Lionel Messi, but he is 39. But he's still, the numbers in this World Cup are still incredible. But I think the players will be pretty confident. In the last two games, they've found a way to win, which is so important. The mentality and the togetherness of the team, I think, has been really impressive so far. I don't think they've actually peaked yet in terms of the free-flowing football and the tactical side of things. There's been patches and spells, but maybe they're due. Yeah, maybe they're due a really impressive performance. We can but hope.
And the expectation, of course, mounts. The expectation here at home, the expectation out there among the fans, and that brings its own pressures. You've played in a World Cup semi-final.
Yeah, there are pressures. Every player is aware of the fact that this is possibly the second biggest game they'll ever play if they manage to get to the final. So it's a huge occasion. But I don't think they'll be frightened of it. I think they'll give it their best. We've got real winners in that team. They've won against the odds a little bit so far, particularly obviously in Mexico. I thought that was a really, really powerful performance mentally as much as anything else in that game to hang on despite you were down to 10 men in really tough conditions in terms of the altitude, etc. So, and then Norway, obviously England weren't at their best and they had to come from behind, which is the second time they've done it in the knockout stage. So, things have gone well so far, but I still think there's better and more to come from this team. They've got to deal with the pressure, and I think the fact that in major tournaments now in the last few years they've reached semi-finals, finals, quarterfinals, and they're knocking on the door. And eventually, if you keep knocking, hopefully a door will open.
And just a couple more, just on Tuchel and Bellingham. I mean, did you read much into that? Is there a tension there that we should be worried about?
No, not at all. I think there was a slight misunderstanding at the end of the game. What happens in these things is Tuchel didn't love the team's performance, but he did marvel at their mental strength to get themselves through it. I think then the question's thrown at Jude Bellingham. Well, the manager thinks it was a really poor performance without adding the bit about the mentality. So I understand Jude's response. I've been a player for donkeys years ago, but it was managers shout at you sometimes, and you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, it's actually quite hard out here. So that sort of thing happens all the time. What we don't want to do is make something out of nothing here, because believe you me, those players they're all focused on togetherness, being together with the coach as well. And he'll be managing players differently, and so far he's got the best out of certainly Jude Bellingham, however he's doing it, because Jude has been superb and will continue to be so, I hope. So I wouldn't read anything into that whatsoever.
Yeah, and look, very brief, 30 seconds, we've got France, Spain tonight. I mean, France have looked super impressive, but I mean, Spain just find a way of winning, don't they?
Well, Spain are wonderful footballers and they can keep the ball. I think France have been so impressive in this tournament, particularly that front 4 or 5 or 6, if you include the players that they can bring on. But Spain are different to anyone else they've played. Spain will keep the ball. And that's probably the best form. The best way to defend is to keep the ball, because if you've got it, they can't score. So I think this is such an intriguing game. I think it could be really, really special. I think there'll be goals in it, and I think I've got a feeling that France will find Spain quite difficult.